Hi everyone, it's me, Spring, the fiber enthusiast, and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to make some yarn, and we're going to do a blend on the drum carder. So we're going to start with creating a blend on the drum carder, taking it off in roving style, and then after that we will spin it into yarn. So what we have here is a basic drum carder, and it's meant for blending different fibers together. Now, this is your blending drum. So everything's getting blended on it. This is your liquor drum, which means it's licking it up onto this. And you can put it on, apply it in many different fashions. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this to my table just using some clamps here. Now I will do some of this where you can actually hear and see what's going on, and other parts of it I will be changing to a silent mode because it is rather loud. We'll quiet it down so it's not so loud when you're watching the video. But I do want you to see how this works. We also have a brush that smooths things down as you're putting the fiber on, and also assists in taking the bat off when you take a bat off. You can also use it to clean your drums. And then we have, you can use a knitting needle, there's many different types, but you go underneath the fiber and lift up to take the fiber off, and you'll see in a little bit what I mean by that. All right. So what I have here is just some straight up wool roving. And what we want to do is we want to create a base before we get into adding any more, extra fibers, anything like that. We want to create a base. So I'm just going to pull some off, and I'm going to be applying it more worsted versus woolen. If I wanted to create a woolen, I would place it in this direction. But because I want to create it more of a worsted, I'm going to apply it this direction, either down here on the feeder or up here. Now, there's a couple of things that you need to think about when you're using a drum carder. You don't want, no matter how hard it is, when you set this down here, you should be able to see through it. First of all, you should be able to see through it. Second of all, you have to resist the urge to assist, either holding it or forcing it in or just simply guiding it in any way, shape, or form. You want the liquor drum to lick that up and put it on the big drum. The more you tug and pull here, the more fiber ends up staying on your liquor drum. So preparation is key when you are working with your fiber and a drum carder. So we're going to do a little bit now. And it's starting to pull it in. You don't need to go fast. There we go. So there's the first little bit. I'm going to put a little bit more on. And a little bit more on. Now, this is time consuming. It does take a while to get fiber on. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is by applying it on the top directly to your blending drum up here. So just by laying it on there and allowing it to pull the fiber from the roving onto the drum. And I'm just gently moving it across the drum, filling in any gaps. Now that was too much in one spot there. Too much at one time will cause it to jam up. I'm going to go ahead and brush that down in a little bit. And we're going to add some more. I personally like doing it this way because I can do more, putting it where I want it a lot easier. Now, as I'm going around spinning this, I'm watching this area right across here, and it tells me where I need more fiber. Because I want to create an even bat, I'm going to work on trying to get a good even layer for my base layer. All right. All right. So we're just about even. I need just a little bit more on the outside there. There we go. We're getting it. Right. There we go. All right. So we are now with a good base. Just going to move the rest of that fiber out of the way. Now what I have here is just an ounce of 23 micron. It is a yellow. This is merino comb top. And I just received this from Kamaj Fibers. So I definitely want to try this out and see. Taking the label off here for now. All right, so it's just 1 ounce that I have here, and I'm going to separate it down just a little bit. And we're going to start adding this on. put that down in. All right, so now I want to add just a tad bit of some Angelina. I have two different color Angelinas here. I have this Citronella, which is really bright neon. Just going to get a small pinch of that out. It does not take much. Let's see. They've got it stuffed down in here good. That I purchased from Slim Chicken on Etsy. Etsy. I recently had a review that I did on it. It might not be out yet when you see this video. We shall see. I'm just gonna stuff the rest of this back in there. As you see, I did not take a whole lot. I have way more than enough sparkle here for what I'm doing. And I'm just going to put some of that on there. All right. Now I'm going to add a little bit more yellow to it just to kind of knock some of that down. Okay. Just going to go back and forth a little bit here. There's that. Add a little bit more of the yellow. And at the same time I'm using the yellow, I'm going to go ahead and put some of this sparkle down here on the feeder tray. Okay. Some of it stayed on here, which is fine. You just pick it off. It's not that big a deal. I am not a professional at this. I am still fairly new to this. I don't know all the tricks and tips and all of that. Today we're blending some fiber. That's what I can tell you. This is how I'm doing it, how it's working. The little tips that I've picked up and learned as I have been doing this. All right, so now I have the yellow. Now I was also asked, keeping some yellow set aside, I was asked about adding some green, some yellow and some green. So I have some 50/50 acrylic wool here that I'm going to add to it. So we're going to do just a little bit of this green. And then I'll add some of the green stellina, and we'll top it with just a little bit more yellow. Okay, let's add a little bit of this green stellina, or Angelina, I'm sorry. This was also purchased by myself from the same company. Slim Chicken. Okay, so there is some green in there now to go with our bright citronella yellow. And we're just going to do a thin layer over the top just to kind of hold everything together here with this yellow. All right. There we go. We now have it all down, and get some of those little nips out that have been created. Not a big deal. There will be nips here and there. There we go. And I find it sometimes easier to remove them here than to get them off after the bat is already off or after I've done the roving. But it's just little knots that where the fiber has knotted up when it was being added and blended, and it's not that big a deal. So here we are. I got that one. All right, so it's not too bad. I'm going to go to my breaking point here. And now I'm going to get my little handy dandy Diz that I ordered from Hipstring also on Etsy, and I did a review on it. This is kind of like follow-up on these. All right, so basically what you're doing is you're picking up a good section of fiber off of your blending drum. And we are now going to give it a little twist. Feed it through. I'm going to go with the large one in the center. Okay. So to do this, we are bringing the drum back towards us. We crank it this way, the way all of the little needles and the tines here face, it pulls the fiber this way. So now we need to get it off. So we got to go in reverse. So towards us, and you're going to pick up the fiber from the drum and slide the diz through. And you just want to keep your roving from going back through the liquor. Now, as you go, you might find that you're losing a little bit. You may need to pick that up and add it to your roving here. Like such. So here we go. Find a spot for my roving. So now we're coming to the end of the first section. We're going to need to work our way over to the next section. So as you're going, you need to keep that in mind, that you are working towards the next section. And I still am getting thin in the center here because I am still new. Sometimes I also have found, by the way, that by pre-lifting some of this up, it helps keep the draft or lifting the fiber up. It helps keep it thick. All right, so here we go. A little bit of fiber left. I'll just add it to the end down here. So here we are. Here is our roving. As I said, it got a little thin in a spot, but that's okay. I'm just going to pull that apart for now. Set that aside. And now I want to braid it. So I'm just going to twist that like such. And now all we're doing is basically chain. Now you can blend this as many times as you would like. You can run this through again and again and again. That is entirely up to you. I'm not going to run it again. I have the colors how I want them. I've got some green and I've got some yellow and I got that yellow sparkle. And all I'm doing is just putting this into a braid to make it easier to store. I do not have to do this if I'm just going to go straight into spinning it, which I will be doing next. This won't be the prettiest braid you've ever seen if you are used to seeing braids, but it will do what I need it to do. Okay, so here we are. We've got some yellows and some greens and that white base. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way. Move my drum carder out of the way. And we will get busy on the next part, which is spinning. Okay, so I have my braid here. I have that little bit of extra that I pulled off separately from where I got it too thin. And I just want to make a clear indication of the fact that if I was doing this for commission, I would have to weigh out how much of what type of fiber and create a percentage of whether it had, 3% silk or 15%, acrylic compared to the rest of wool. What kind of wool? How much? All of that stuff would have to be weighed out. This is being done for the sole purpose of a gift, as well as for this tutorial, just to kind of show you how to use the drum carder, that there are different techniques. I only know a few of them at this present moment, and what it does, most importantly, how this all comes about. So I just have my Nano over here. I have my bigger Ashford electric wheel here and my manual wheels, but for this I'm just going to use my little Nano. Now I want to make sure that it's spinning the right direction. It is. All right, so I have this roving here that I created, that you got to watch me create, and I'm just going to pull up a little bit. I'm going to give it a twist and put it through the leader on my spinning wheel here. Fold it over like such. Now I'm going to turn it on, get some twist building up, and start spinning. All right, so this is all I'll be doing for this right here, is just spinning a single. Once I have it to a certain point, which will be about half of the amount of fiber that I have, I will put a second bobbin on and spin a second single. Once I have the two singles created, I will come back and we will ply it together. So I'll show you how to ply yarn that we have made. Okay, so I'm going to carry on and complete the two singles, and I will be back. We'll ply them together, and then we will take them off, hank them up, and take a look at what we've made together. Okay, so I'm back, and I have my two bobbins. This one's a little rougher looking today. Not my best spin ever. But as you can see, there is the yellow and the green, and then that base of that whitish cream color. So I have my two bobbins, and I'm going to put them on the Lazy Kate. Now, while I'm setting this up, I'm going to tell you about what I'm doing. But I also want to tell you that I am by no means a professional blender, professional drum carder, anything like that. I'm going over what I've learned so far and sharing it with you. So this is where we're at with drum carding. This is just like the basic of basics. There are so much more technical terms to learn. There's all kinds of little different tidbits here and there that you can pick up and learn. So I just want to emphasize that I'm not a professional. I am just Joe Schmo that's picked up things along the way and want to share them with you. This is how I understand it. This is how I figured it out, and I'm just sharing it with you. So when spinning, I've been asked about plying it and can it be any, more than just one single. And I'm just going to show real quick. I know if you're already blending fiber or interested in blending fiber, you're probably already plying together yarn. So I need to, on here, switch this to go the opposite direction. So whether I've Z twist or S twist, I need to go the opposite direction. So my flyer, when I was spinning my singles, was going clockwise. I need my flyer to go counterclockwise, which means I'm going to use the other yarn guides on the opposite side of my flyer now. So I was over here, now I'm going to be over here. So I'm just going to run my leader, which is just something to help get you started feeding the yarn in as it's plying together. So this is my leader. I've got it set up where it is on the left side for going counterclockwise of my flyer. I'm now going to pull over the two ends to my singles here. So I have the two strands, the two singles coming from, let's see if I can show you here, from my bobbins over here on my Lazy Kate. So now I'm just going to take these ends and put them into the leader and wrap them around just like I did for the singles. And what I generally do is I use two hands, one to keep a little tension and one to guide the twist. Now for that to happen, it takes just a moment of getting started, getting going. Get the twist going here. So I'm just going to work my twist down and feed it in. Work my twist down and feed it in. Now what I'm watching is the amount of twist that is happening between those two singles as I feed it in. Some count rotation. Some count by 1, 2, 3, in. 1, 2, 3, in. 1, 2, 3, in. And that all is, again, it's dependent on you and what works for you. There are so many different ways to create yarn. There's not one way. There's many different ways, and whatever way works best for you is the way that I recommend doing it. I'm showing you one of the techniques that I use for myself, how I look at it, and how I spin. Mine is by feel. I can also look at it and tell. There's cards that you can use to make sure that your twist is the same all the time, every time. I do this for fun. I do this for enjoyment. I do my absolute best that I can, whatever the fiber, whatever the circumstance. I do the best that I can. Some days are good, some days are bad. Just like with any type of craft you're doing. Okay, I need to move my yarn guides. It's really a good practice to get into to keep your bobbins even, especially if you're using a electric spinning wheel, because it makes it easier on the drive shaft of the motor and the pulley system. It makes for a balanced spin and a balanced machine. So these, like I said, today's not a great spinning day for me. Just now getting back in the groove after being off for a week and not being in the craft room hardly at all. So everybody has good days, everybody has bad days. The same thing goes if you are plying together on a drop spindle. You can absolutely 100% ply together on a drop spindle. Several plies, 2-ply. You're basically doing the exact same thing I'm doing here, just on a drop spindle. All right, so I'm going to continue working on plying this together, these two bobbins together, and I'll meet back up with you to turn this into a hank of yarn. Okay, so you don't have to go through all the steps that I'm getting ready to go through. You can use what's called a niddy noddy to take it off the bobbin and turn it into a hank. Now, this is PVC, and I currently have fiber on it right now that I need to soak. So I would turn it like this and put it in the tub and soak it to set the twist on it. So I'm not going to take this off my niddy noddy. What I am going to do, on the other hand, is take it off the bobbin, which you see here, put it into a cake, and then put it onto the Yarn Swift. So I'm going to go ahead and cake this up just real quick, like no big deal. Just simply cake it up. Like that. Pull it off my cake winder. Open up my Swift. Now, this is just an umbrella Swift, and a lot of you may have your umbrella Swift, if you have one, sitting on your table upright. I just, to keep it simple and keep it out of my way, I have it mounted to the side of my handmade Lazy Kate. So I'm just going to tie my start on there. And we're going to just put it on the Swift. Now, there's not a whole lot of yardage here. I just, basically, like I said earlier, I'm going through the motions with you, just so that way you can see what all is involved with that drum carder that I received recently and what exactly I do with it, or what you do with it, should I say. Okay. All right. I've made it to the end down here. And just going to tie the ends together. That I am going to put one wrap around. I know it's hard for you to see, but basically I'm just going around my strands here, just so that way it doesn't come apart and become a mess, because that is not fun to clean up. Just putting a knot there. All right. There's not a lot of fiber, like I said, not a lot of yardage here, but in order to keep it from becoming a disaster in the tub when I soak it to set the twist, which is the next part, this will help keep everything aligned. And I probably will put one more on the other side just to keep it from being a mess at that end as well. So then we're just going to twist it up for presentation purposes, like that. And here we go. Here is our yellow with a little bit of green fiber spun into yarn with lots of sparkle. All right, I am going to take a picture of it, and that way you can see it in a picture. Here we go. One last look at it. That's just the tail end there. All right, everyone. So there is fiber on the carder, drum carder, turned into roving, spun into two singles, plied together to create a hank of yarn. So that is what we did today. What do you think? I know this was a long video. Hopefully, it was of some interest to some of you. I know not everybody is interested in the spinning of yarn, and has no future plans to spin, but hopefully this was of some interest. All right, everyone, that is it for today. I am getting back in the groove, getting back into the craft room, and finally getting straightened out to where I can start recording a few more videos for you. All right, everyone, be blessed, be a blessing, and until next time, bye for now.